Yes, welcome to the People Under the Stairs panel. Alright, we have some pretty amazing cast members here today. Let's start bringing them up on stage. We have the Stairmaster himself, Birch. Alright, we have Roach himself, Whalen. Alright, we have Ruby, Kelly Jo Minter.
The fool. Yeah, what was your line?
I was going to say, some call him Poindexter, some call him Fool. Yeah. We call him Brandon Adams.
Nice.
But,
too bad we missed that.
We didn't.
The greatest line ever.
We got the line in there.
Yeah, we got it in there. I shoehorned it in. Good stuff.
Early in the morning.
Early in the morning. Thank you so much for coming out here, guys. We're really honored to have you. What were your first impressions of the project when you first heard about it, and what was that like back in the early '90s? For everybody. Whoever wants to go.
For me, it was just another audition after school at first, but once I was able to read the material and who I knew, was directing the movie, Wes Craven, and then I got pretty hyped about it. And,
I would imagine that would get pretty hyped. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You guys have any stories? Remember when you first heard about the script, or?
No, I just the same as Brendan. Like my manager was all excited. I didn't really know too much about Wes because I hadn't only been here for a couple of years when that happened, and I went to the audition, and after I did the audition and then Wes wanted a call back, I had done some research on and I realized this is Wes Craven. So then you got more excited about it. The script at that point, though, for me was in development. My character was not even half developed. He just had put it in bits and pieces. So I read it. I wasn't really excited when I read it. For me, of course, you look for you look out for yourself, obviously. But then during the shooting, Wes every day he added pages for me. He just we created the Stairmaster together with me during shooting.
Wow.
Which was quite amazing. Yeah. So the whole experience was fantastic.
Awesome. Well, we're definitely going to talk a little bit more about that. Guys, Sean, Kelly, do you have any?
My experience, just like everybody else. I mean, a lot of people say, "How do you get into horror?" And it's not that you choose to get in; it's just the audition you get that day. You might get a comedy, you might get a drama, you might get but this is the one that came in that day. I went to an acting coach I've been working with, and found some fun stuff to do with Roach. And then when I went in, I just remember, my friends who were business guys after school, after college, doing their interviews for business jobs. They're like, "Yeah, I wear my suit. I go into these interviews," and then excuse me. Here comes another. Oh, gotta stop doing that cocaine. They would laugh. They would say, "Oh, I go to these business interviews with the suits and the ties and all this stuff." And I said, "Well, I just went into an interview and I was shirtless, crawling around Wes Craven's floor, crawling behind his chairs, peeking around and crying and screaming." And they're like, "Yeah, we'll take our interviews. I think our interviews." but it was just one of those things. And then I got the call like an hour or so later saying I got the gig. So
wow,
it was just kind of.
Yeah, he booked it quick.
Yeah.
After the callback, it was quick.
Yeah.
Closer.
Yeah.
Kelly, do you remember when you first heard about the project?
Not really. I was sick. I had the flu, and I went on the audition, and I fell asleep in the lobby. It was bad. I mean, I was like, it was bad. And I was groggy. I took some NyQuil or something, and they came out there. I was asleep, and I was just out of it. So he said, "You know what?" Casting director said, "No, Wes really wanted to meet you," and I said, "I really want to meet him." And I'm like, man. So they said, "Come back in 2 days." I came back in 2 days, and I read it, and I got the part.
Wow,
nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was lucky for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, another thing worth mentioning. I when I went in, because the character wasn't developed yet, I actually auditioned the same as Sean. I have to audition for Roach.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But knowing that I was not going to play Roach, so that was a little weird. He said,
Yeah,
"You're
yeah.
going to do this," and I'm like,
Oh,
"I'm doing
wow.
this, but I'm not doing this in the movie."
Yeah, yeah,
And Wes
yeah.
said, "No, you're not doing this in the movie, but you're doing this now for me." I'm like, "All right." You know, that was cool.
Wow, that is really cool.
They said they wanted, the reason I got the part, they just said they wanted a really good looking Roach.
Yeah,
So he lost
they
out.
had to give me something else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Give me the ugly one.
Dude.
No,
Get
they
in
had
where
to
you
cover
can
my
fit
beautiful
in,
face up. You know, they kept him as is.
That's a good. No. That's a good story. Remember that story? This guy comes up to my booth, and there's a picture of me like this, and he goes, "How'd you do those? How'd you do those prosthetics?" And I said, "Well, because the fingers." I go, "Oh, well, the fingers. You know, they took an hour every day to, paint them, glue them on very carefully, and do the makeup." And he goes, "No, not the fingers." He goes, "Those fucked up teeth and gums. How long did it take you to do that?" And I said 9 months, because my mom made it in her stomach. I go, "That's all me." And he just goes, "No shit." And I go, "Yeah." And he's like,
No shit.
"All right." And he leaves. Doesn't even buy a picture.
Nice to
Right?
meet you, man.
Man. Came over to tell me how fucking ugly I was.
You better buy a couple pictures. Of
I'm not like,
something that. You better buy the
at least
lot,
buy
whatever's on the
fucking
table. You have to buy it.
selfie.
Oh man. So, and just throwing it out there too, whenever you guys want to jump in with questions, I know it takes a little while to warm up, but as soon as I see hands go up, I'll start calling them out. But I'll go a couple more to keep things, warm things up a little bit.
Sure.
Another one of the great characters in the movie I always felt like was the house itself. So I was wondering if you guys had any stories walking onto that, amazing set that was built, in between the walls and stuff, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there was two sets. One set was in a studio. A lot of the inside was in the studio. But I shot in both. I shot in the studio, and then I shot in the actual house. The actual house, we had a lot of fun. I mean, one experience with the actual house was when I came out of under the stairs, when I break up with Wendy with a knife and all that. That's actually in the house.
Oh, wow.
And they kept. If you can do frame by frame, I'll tell you something here. They added a hairpiece on me. It was my hair, but it was also because of hairpiece, because they had to cut my hair and shit when they did. They wanted to look all messy. So I come out of the stairs, and everything is perfect in this take, except the piece of the hairpiece is still on the set of the stairs.
Oh, that's right.
And then Wes comes up to me and says, "It was a freaking perfect take. I think I have to keep it. We'll see how it looks." And I think they kept that.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Do you mind if we get our coffee delivered?
Oh, no, by all means. Early in the morning. Just so anybody that's watching this out there later in YouTube land knows, these guys were here at 11 a.m., so these guys are pretty amazing to do this for us.
Grandpa Roach needs his fucking coffee.
I actually need a little bit of hydration myself, a little water here.
Thank you, Stacey.
Thank you, Stacy.
Sean, you want something else about the set?
Well, I was interior, so I was all on the studio. Roach never, if you think about it, Roach never saw the outside of the house. He never saw Roach from the outside of the house. So everything for me was interior. The basement, we worked in the basement together. Chimney. Oh yeah, see, I didn't do the chimney, but I did. But then we had this huge maze between the walls that he and we had so much fun. I mean, we got to run through that huge maze. And we had a little Steadicam guy following us.
Yeah.
And it was huge, but it was fun, man. It was really, really fun. That was really cool, and the bathroom stuff. So I never got to go to the house is the short answer. So
I mean, it matched perfectly though. Like the set was incredible, and it matched up perfectly with the house. The house was
Yeah.
like
Amazing, though.
Yeah.
in an old neighborhood in Los Angeles. It's
Yep.
like it's over 100 years old. It's a real cool house, and
yeah.
And they actually blew it, that explosion, they blew up the roof. They blew up the roof of that
Yeah.
house.
Really?
For real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the days, they made this stuff the right way.
Yeah.
Blew up people's houses.
Does anyone have any questions so far? Yes, sir.
I got to meet you guys yesterday, and you guys were awesome. actually asked you guys this yesterday, but the movie's marketed like a pure horror movie. Like the poster behind you is a skull with people under the stairs. You're expecting like monsters. Did you guys realize at the time what kind of social commentary Wes was making? And have you has that become something over time that has garnered an appreciation, even more of an appreciation for the film?
I didn't realize it at the time.
Neither
But,
did I.
And then the more I watched it, and then I realized that he had a social message with it, and he added all the comedy. I mean, what I really liked about the movie, the first time I ever saw it on the screening, was how funny it was. I really
Yeah,
liked the
it's
comedy
really
of it.
funny.
I'm like, shit, this is a funny movie. So that just made it more exciting to be in it, because they had the horror, they had the comedy, had that more of the old, the old like they did in the 80s,
Yeah.
Some fun with the
I
horror.
thought it was groundbreaking that you have a lead black young kid in a, driving a major, motion picture, family,
Yeah.
urban, hood.
Yeah.
Nobody was doing that. Wes definitely took some risks doing that, and it paid off. But I mean, it's relevant today.
Yeah.
So I'm just really, now that you think about it now, I mean, we're in 2017, but that was groundbreaking at the time.
Well, do you guys know about the movie Get Out, right?
Yeah.
And it's Key, right? No. Peele, right? Jordan Peele? Yeah. So in Vanity Fair, he said the two movies that I watched were Rosemary's Baby and People Under the Stairs.
Really?
He said those were his main influences for that movie, which is amazing.
I got that kind of feeling from the movie when I saw
Yes.
it too. And as to your question, no, I didn't realize it back then at all. But as I got older, I started to see it, and it had a real strong social, economic undertone to it, the slumlords who were, just the whole thing with the healthcare, with my mother, and
Yes.
Yeah.
and I was doing it for a reason, and the gold, and it was pretty
Funeral
deep,
home and stuff,
pretty deep movie.
cheap coffins, expensive prices.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think it definitely. I mean, I never knew why people liked Roach. I was kind of like, because he's goofy and he's running around the walls. But then this woman was like, well, he's a hero and a martyr.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? I go, well, she was like, don't you understand that he could have left at any time, but he never did. He stuck around to make sure Alice was okay and to just fuck with those people and make them miserable. And then he helped Fool, because he knew.
I think Wes's vision, it was really.
It's really
in the
cool. Like
future.
it was very groundbreaking for that kind of time. And he took flack for it too, though. He took some shit for it. Yeah, because people were like, you a white guy writing and for this
I mean,
stuff.
in those days too, though, like Wes, everything he wrote, he dreamed first. I don't know. You guys are aware of that. I don't know. But then he said to me later on when Scream and all that happened, that wasn't a dream.
Yeah.
So this story actually, I don't know if too many people know this. The blueprint was based on a family in Santa Monica, a sister and a brother who kidnapped kids. Then all the other story with the social message and all that, I don't think that was, real.
Yeah.
That was his fiction. But he read a newspaper article in the 70s about the sister and brother in Santa Monica slumlords that tried to get the perfect kid, and they lived like a married couple, but they were sister and brother. And he read this article in the 70s, and he said he always wanted to write a script about it, but he couldn't get it right, like he didn't know how to do it. And one night, in the late 80s or early 90s, he just had this dream, and like, shit, I just got it. He woke up and he just wrote the script.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
If I just riffing on that, if I could actually,
Sure.
one scene that I always just kind of struck me as a kid is the scene, Brandon, where you find the TV in the basement. And like I always that just made my mind go like crazy with questions like, is the dad watching TV down at the is the man watching TV down there? Did he put it down there to like mess with the people under the stairs? Like I was
Keeps
curious
them
to
quiet,
Wes,
right?
and then when I found out later what was on the TV, it like made me kind of even more curious.
The Iraq War.
So Iraq
yeah,
War footage,
It was the
which was the
bombing of
first
Iraq.
war that was so televised.
Yeah.
you know, that you could see live on TV.
I didn't even think about that one, man. Like I
Well, I
said,
haven't
you
even
know,
thought about that until now.
No, but the TV, my understanding when I saw it recently was that it just gave them something to watch.
I would like to say the same, but knowing Wes and looking
Yeah,
at all
no,
the stuff
that's
back
the
now,
worst.
it's like, no,
Yeah,
everything.
it's
Bracket
making
car
it
going on? Yeah. It's true.
Wow. Does anybody else got questions out there, guys? Okay.
That's not so much of a question, more a comment that I've always, you know, I was very excited to see this reunion happen. I remember seeing people under the stairs for the first time. I was probably 10,
Right.
old, you know, or TV. And the thing that I took away from it, you know, I was really glad it brought up the super commentary aspect, was the scene that stuck in my mind was when, towards the end of the movie, when everyone's breaking out of the basement, is
Yeah.
the humanity on Stairmaster's
Right.
face.
Yeah.
That stuck with me, and you know, seeing his eyes and seeing the light of day, that really instilled me. You know, oh, I love this movie. You know, this
Yeah.
movie's great. You know, just that look, they captured that look of humanity on you
Yeah.
know, this creature coming out of the
Yeah.
basement.
Yeah.
I really appreciated that aspect of the film.
That was an awesome look. That little frame he did that in the
Yeah.
end. I love that too.
Yeah.
That's-
Just walking out.
Just
Yeah.
just walking out, looking. You know,
We shot that out quite a lot of times. That one, like, and I didn't get it at the time. I'm like, he said, "Look at the camera." This, I'm like, he took it over and over. I'm like, this. I'm just walking out of the building.
Yeah,
And it
what's
was
the
that.
point?
That was that look he needed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's great.
that stuck with me, and it's stuck with me all these years. But yeah, thank you for that.
If I could riff on that, I've always wondered if you and Wes sat down and talked much about the backstory, about how long you know you'd been down in the basement, or what specifically made your character the Stairmaster versus you know the other guys, or if you were like the first one locked down there. Or...
Yeah, I mean, not in too much depth, but I was basically what we discussed was I was the first. The first. I was the oldest. I was the first kid kidnapped, and then obviously I said something evil because they cut my tongue out,
Yeah.
and then he threw me down there, and then basically, you know, every time somebody came to the door, that's what they fed us. I mean, I had to eat a
Right.
jelly kidney on set once.
Yeah.
Remember that scene he threw? I mean, it was obviously licorice, but.
Which I'm sure has to do with the question you asked about the TV. You know, it was probably to just keep them in a certain mind state.
Yeah,
You
know,
yeah.
Because you
He
think
kinda
about it,
made
he
us cannibals
feeds them
now.
people,
Yeah.
and then at the same time, it's the same person at the end that we all
Yeah.
loved,
Yeah.
the cannibal.
No, but he wanted me to be like the
And he's a
puppeteer.
vegetarian
That's
now.
what
Yeah, and now he's a
every day he
vegetarian.
developed the character more, or me being like the protector down there and trying to break out. And
Yeah, I always
Help
wondered
the
about-
kids.
I always wondered about that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. Guys, questions out there?
I've got one. This one is for Brandon specifically. I mean, growing up, you might be around the same age, so like seeing you on screen all the time, like in many different instances, was certainly an inspiration to me as an actor as well, even back then.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, one question that I think I have now, having more experience on my end, is like in appreciating the ability to make creative choices. And so I guess I'm wondering, like, as a young actor back then, you know, how much of that were you doing, so as opposed to just having, you know, Coach Craven give you the play?
Well, it was a lot of that. Then I worked with a lot of great actors on the set, you know, and I had done a few things, but I think, you know, it's like the movie. Now that I look back, or even as I got older and I started to study acting, a lot of the stuff that I was doing naturally, it just kind of confirmed it. Like, you know, like with the movie, you see it later, you know, but I was just having fun. That's it.
No, and a good story on that, how Wes was working with us, especially Brendan, and the time he took and the patience he had. I have a little story about that actually. We were shooting the scene with me and Brendan when right before, you know, we go out, he's telling me how to get out, and you know that one-on-one we had, and we couldn't get it, you know, Wes couldn't get it right. Like Brendan was a little bit too much of a kid that night. It was late. It was late at night. It was the end of the day.
We had some late
It was
nights,
somebody's batch. Somebody was getting married in the crew too, so they were going to have cake. So everybody felt a little rushed, and except Wes. Everybody else wanted to do something. There was like a party going on, and it was late. And so Wes just like, hey, told everybody to just take 5 and just slow down, stopped everything. And then they said to Brendan, he took Brendan's hand and he said, come with me. And he took him and they ran around the studio, ran around the block, the whole, it's a whole big block, square. And he comes running in and he calls action while running with Brendan. And then he just throws Brendan in front of the screen and he shoots. And that's the take they kept.
You used to have to, get ready for each scene because it was a lot of running around. Every time you were starting
he and I would
up
be
here.
jumping up and down.
Right,
running
even
around.
Ving, he used to be like, okay, let's do some jumping jacks and push-ups. It was like,
No, but that's what he, and it was perfect. Because Brendan just like forgot about everything for a second, still being a kid for like 5 minutes, just running around the block in front of his, came in front of the camera, all like out of breath, and bam, did an amazing scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm amazed to hear about that. Jordan Peele said that about People Under the Stairs. And not only that, but we had a female DP on that.
Yeah,
You-
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, that's back then.
Right,
But
that
it
was
hasn't
something.
progressed that much. I mean, with the
Yeah, she was
Sandy
great.
Sissel.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
And
very-
I mean, he was very innovative in, I'm very proud to have been a part of that movie.
Well, the
Not
funny-
working with these guys.
Like our funny joke. No, none of us. The funniest part of all this was that when we first started doing these panels, Brandon was very shy, and he'd always say, "Well, I was only 11." So Jan and I would talk and talk and talk and talk, and then he would just say, "I was only 11." And then finally we just called him out, and go, "Fucking asshole! You gotta say something. I don't care if you were 11. It doesn't mean you were like you had no brain." I said, "No, it's not like you didn't have a brain. I mean, just tell some stories or whatever." So we're all sitting there one day, and he said, someone says, "Well, why did you love this movie?" And he just first time, and we looked at him like, "You better not fucking say." And he looked at us, and then he looked out in the audience and goes, "Little black kid saved the day." And he goes, "And I've never seen anything like that before." And then we're like, "Well, fuck, we could have shut him up. We would have." Now he's got the best line in the whole thing. But it was true. We're like, we were blown away. We're like, damn, we never knew he felt that strongly about that. And how cool that must have been, And how cool it was that we were, I knew that Roach was saving kids, and I also knew, but I didn't think of Brandon as a little black kid saving the, you know what I mean? It was just, he and I were goofing around in the walls,
That
it was
was
like, we got to play between the walls, and we got to throw slingshots at people, we were just goofing around, And that's who I was a 27-year-old man, but I had to get in a kid mode to be Roach, so that was just fun.
But like I said, you see that domino effect of the whole movie. It's like you have the older generation in the movie, the parents who are really in control of everything. What's going on in the house, the neighborhood, everything.
Yes.
And then everybody else is just kind of pulling each other up, versus
yeah.
me and Alice, you, him,
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's very
It's a
interesting.
real cool
Yeah.
movie he came
Yeah.
up with.
Very cool. Any other questions?
I don't know.
Yeah, please.
Go ahead.
This one's actually for Sean. I like the role of Roach. That's the first time I've seen any character without a tongue speaking. And so I was curious as to how, I guess there's no example of that, but
Right.
how much prep, did you?
Well, what they did was, one of the first things they did was do a shot of me, the scene where I show the tongue.
Yeah.
So I had the prosthetics, did that, then gave this. It was literally just it's like a little glove thing, and I just slipped it on, and then just pulled my tongue further back. So if I would have gone like that, you would have seen it was like stuck on there. But I just pushed it out a little bit, did that. And then, I gave the prosthetic back and stuff, and then we started, and that scene is the scene that Everett comes in with the gun, it goes, and Wes always liked real crazy shit happening, so you would get a reaction and people would freak out and the tension would get high. So like Everett would bust into that room and shoot at that wall, and they had the explosive on the wall to blow up and things like that. So I went in and dove in there, and I was shaking and going, I did it. Was it really cool? And he goes, come here. And I said, yeah. And he goes, what? And he goes, watch. And I said, it looks good. And he goes, no, listen. And you hear the gun go, boom, and you hear me go, oh shit! And I dove in the wall, and he goes, you can't talk. And I was like, oh man. So we talked about it, and I said, why don't we, and I took the prosthetic tongue, and I put it back on, and I never took it off for the rest of the movie. So then it allowed me to talk, and we talked about my bedroom, and when I was running through the walls, because you couldn't hear what I was saying. So all I did was wear that thing all the time, and it was the best thing. 'Cause if I was thinking about that all the time, I think it would have been hard. But by putting that thing in, it really saved me and helped me the rest of the time. But yeah, that's kind of the birth of how I was able to do that. And it was a great blessing and a great accident. I don't know how I would have done it without that, but I guess I would have, curled my tongue up or something. But it made it just so much easier.
It's one of those cool things about making movies that particular way, because like if it was made today, it would probably, that shot would have been CG,
Yeah.
It would have been like, oh, look at all this stuff we could CG on, blah blah blah.
They
But
would just voice over it anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, they did, like you said, and even like I said, the explosion was real, and the explosion with the stuntman that's playing Everett McGill's stuntman when he's being blown out, that was actually in studio, and he broke his back, that stuntman. I mean, that was a real explosion. He flew out of the building and landed, and he missed the mat. Landed on the concrete.
The guy was forever.
Yeah, forever.
I do remember something like that. Yeah, I remember something like that.
Yeah, that was serious. They thought he might die first, but he survived.
oh my god.
Stuntman, shit.
It was definitely done real.
Yeah, well,
There's no
that's why-
CGI
I
on that
remember
one.
the little woman who was you. Remember that little woman?
Speaking of
You having fun
prosthetics,
today,
you
aren't
had-
you? I was about to get on you a second ago when you were telling your story for that I'm only 11 shit, but I'm gonna let you.
There was. You had a little stunt woman.
Yeah, I know.
He's not lying though. She's on that show. I saw her. She's on like the Little People show.
Really?
Of LA or Atlanta or some shit.
So,
She used to play my
Double.
on a lot of things when I was young. Yeah.
so speaking of prosthetics, a little bit ago, Jan, you actually had kind of put through some torture wearing black contact lenses, I believe, right, for Stairmaster.
Oh yeah, I had 6 hours of makeup a day for 6 weeks, shooting in the studio, and then the contact lenses. In those days, remember this is 1990. We shot this. It came out in 91. Yeah, 91. We shot it actually in the spring. I shot. It wasn't like it is now. You can get contact lenses at 7-Eleven. They couldn't do that then. So I had a private optician came on set and had to inspect the eyes, and they made the shape and the form. And it was the first time, or one of the first times in a movie, they wanted to black out the eye completely, so they didn't really know. So he actually built these contact lenses. This guy, it was created just for me for this movie. So the first day we were going to use them, they put them in, and the optician said to Wes and everybody else, 15 minutes at a time, that's all. You can only do 15 minutes, it's going to dry the eye out. And we have never tried this before, so I think 15 minutes be okay, but you shouldn't go over there, and then we can try longer if it works. Because I really don't know how this is going to go, because, eyes are sensitive. So they put them in, and we start shooting, and you know how it is in movies. They kept shooting, and the time goes by, and the optician is pulling, and they're like, no, one more take. 45 minutes later, they say, okay, let's take them out and see. They took them out, I was completely blind.
Whoa.
So then they start freaking out. Of course, they start, for the insurance and the liability, and of course I was kind of nervous. I started seeing little shades, so I thought, okay, something's coming back. They put all kinds of drops in my eyes, but for 2 hours I was literally blind. And then after that, 15 to 20 minutes, that was it. That's another reason. But it was good for me because it made my shooting longer, actually. I think probably added a week on my schedule.
Jan's like, I'll go blind for a paycheck.
Right. Until he really started to go blind.
It's like, wait a minute.
I'm like like the only good thing with being blind, I don't have to look at Sean's face every day.
Got any questions out there, guys?
What was it like, you guys were basically the heroes of the movie, what was it like working with Everett and Wendy, who were as psychotic and paravillains as, it just feels like there must have been some kind of tension on set or something?
No, they were great.
Wendy was fantastic. I never worked with Everett. I wasn't in any scenes with him.
Yeah.
But I worked with Wendy, and she was fantastic. She just wanted to make sure you were okay at all times, and she was always in her character. And then, like, for 2 seconds, she came out and said, "Oh, you okay?" And then, boom, right back into character.
Right.
It was like
Yeah,
she just
Everett
went
was
back
just
and
mellow
forth.
and
Yeah,
professional.
everybody was professional. That's
Yeah,
what
it was
I
just
remember.
really
It was a very happy set. I think Wes
It was,
brings
it was
that.
very happy.
Wes is all positive energy. You don't feel any negative. It's weird because you see the movies he makes and then you meet the person.
Yeah.
He's not at all anything dark. There's nothing dark about him, at least as a person.
Yeah.
Obviously something's going to go wrong in his head because he can write this stuff. But as a human being, he's just all love. He's fantastic.
And he was very detailed and meticulous about the way he set things up.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
and you were already comfortable once you came in the room. You just get to
True.
work.
True.
And he wanted us to do it. I mean, you wanted to do good work for him
Right.
because he made it so easy for you. So someone was saying, "Oh, someone asked me yesterday, they said, "Oh, was it just fun to like goof around?" I said, "No, we were serious about these scenes and stuff. We were playing the absurdity of the reality as real as possible."
Right.
You know? But, he wanted us to play it real like that.
Oh, yeah.
And what I found working with West, having lunch with him, and he would just be telling stories, and you'd be
Yeah.
like, "What?" You
Yeah.
know, it was he was, because I was asking him about surfing in the rainbow. He just would have stories.
Yeah.
And, I've been fortunate where I've been able to work with a lot of different directors. I mean, he was like a complete joy. I mean, you're right, guys. You wanted to perform. You wanted to give your best. We had no idea this movie was going to be what it's become, but
Yeah.
30 years later, nobody knows that when you're actually shooting something. But he was just so, I mean, I hear horror stories of directors and trying to motivate actors or just, being cruel or whatever. This was not that.
No.
He was your friend.
Yeah.
I became
Yeah.
quite close with him even afterwards. He became also because I was in the bracket of, even if Sean was older than me at the time. I was more like he treated me more like, you take care of the kids, so AJ and Brendan, make
Yeah.
sure they're okay, because Sean was more playing like the kid, so he was like
Yeah.
one of the kids. So he always wanted me to check on AJ, so we had lunch, like she said, he told me, and then he came into my dressing room a lot, and while I was doing makeup, because obviously it was half my day, I sat in a chair and watched cartoons, and then Wes came in and we laughed a little bit together, but there was always like, he wanted to give you something else to do than just the shooting. Like, he saw the movie as one big responsibility. Everybody's doing their thing, and not just acting. It was other things. Like,
Yeah.
there was like, a company that every little piece has to work, off and on screen.
Did we pretty much shot in sequence too, huh?
Almost.
Almost,
Yeah.
yeah.
Huh.
Almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions out there, guys?
I got a comment for Brendan. I had a friend that looked just like you, younger, as a character.
Mhm.
He absolutely hated you after everybody saw it, and they
Called him fool,
as
huh?
fool. And anytime I go on to get back at him, I just call him fool. But my question for all of you is, after reading the script and seeing like the brother-sister angle, and then also like the twists, with all the kids up in the bacon on the stairs, and going to that and being fed this and fed that, like what did you think about after you read the script?
I mean, after you book a job, you just find a way to make it work for you. And where you're at in the story, what's your part of the story, that's my answer, is that I knew that, okay, my job was to, you know, my part of the story was to be the guy that was gonna clue them in on the ways out of here. And so you read that stuff, but then you go, well, this is fucked up, but I need to help them out of there. And that's what my job was, you know? So you kind of see it as, it's just painting like, you know, this is the war and this is our battle. You know what I mean? And so I didn't really, and you couldn't tell the, I mean, the brother-sister stuff was very thrown away in the script.
It wasn't really in the script.
Wasn't that much in the script, and then it was,
Yeah,
and then the AJ, him like almost molesting the daughter and stuff like that, that was much more played up on the actual set than it was in the script. But you knew that, you know, yeah, they were horrible people, but you just kind of saw what your role was in it, to me, so it didn't make me go like, oh, this is really, we read so many scripts and so weird. I mean, there's stuff that's insane that you read that at least this made sense. There was a beginning, middle, and end. There was a journey. You know what I mean? So because you might read a lot of that stuff anyway, but it's so crappily put together that you're kind of numb to it. But when you see it in context of a good story, it doesn't really affect you. Me anyway. I just kind of was like, okay, this is what Roach is.
Yeah, my like I said earlier, my character wasn't even developed when I read the script. I was like, I couldn't even really tell what I was gonna do because he hadn't really figured that out himself yet. He just had a blueprint. This is what I want, and like the Brendan part was more developed, and Kelly's part and Sean's part. That's why I read for Sean's part. Because he knew what he wanted to do and he had to cast it, but he didn't really know exactly how it was going to come out. So we developed that. He actually asked me a lot of questions. I helped create the whole character.
Yeah.
And that was fantastic. I mean, like I said, every day he came to my dressing room or the makeup chair and he had 3-4 more pages. He said, look what I came up with last night. Read it. Do you like it?
Yeah.
I mean, so I love that process. In regards to when I just got the part, my first 2-3 weeks on the film, back and forth to the special effect makeup studio before we shoot. I had to do cast and body cast and shoulder cast and so I was doing a lot of that stuff. So I wasn't really into I was just excited to be in a Wes Craven movie.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of creating the character, one thing I always remember is that the movie opens, Kelly, with a very contentious relationship between you and Ving Rhames. And I was wondering if you guys sat down and really fleshed out your own backstory, and you know.
I still don't like it. No. This is acting. You know what I mean? It was, like I said, this movie was before its time. Yeah, you know, he was like rough with me. You could tell he was jamming me up. I was scared.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He might, you gonna have my little brother go do a lick with you? You know,
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
But we were in a bad situation. So Ving and I, no, we didn't have no conversation. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, yeah.
We get it.
We know
Let's
what's
do
up.
it.
Bros,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, let's do it. The tarot card reading thing was interesting since I didn't want to do the movie. I wouldn't say I didn't want to do the movie. I didn't want to mess with tarot cards, but it was a part.
You scared?
And you know, I did it anyway. But it was interesting, you know, just being able to open that film with my voice.
Right.
So many people, I mean, that was a lot of love that Wes put in there, not just for me, anybody who would have been a cast in that role, but he really did like my voice.
Yeah.
And for me to open that film up talking about my little brother, that's dope. I mean, I don't know a lot of people that have been able to do that. And I've been really fortunate to have worked in People Under the Stairs and Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, Wes, we were waiting.
I was always
Yeah, we were
curious,
waiting
since you
on Wes
mentioned Nightmare on Elm Street, did you and Wes have any conversations prior to you being in the film or getting cast about the fact that you were in Nightmare 5? Do you think that helped you get the role at all? Or
No, I don't. I really don't.
coincidence?
I'm trying to remember what the space was.
Yeah.
Because I did like a couple of different things in between.
Years,
Yeah.
Which is 89.
I mean, you know what? All I know is he gave me a chance when I was snoring in the hallway, and let me come back because there is no way that you can go read for a part. It's too competitive. And at that time, you didn't even see people of color, young, black, Puerto Rican, whatever,
Yeah.
in a role like that. So I am, I'm forever grateful.
And then
To
the other
add
thing,
on
like
to
you-
that, I think it's funny too when, like I said, with Wes and the things that he planned out, and like what you were saying about the food thing, I got harassed about that a lot, growing up. And it wasn't until I got older and somebody did like a birth chart and they say, that's your card. And I'm like, did Wes know this? What is this shit? Like with my birthday, that's my card. I didn't feel so bad that I'm like, damn, I guess it was destined,
Well, yeah, the question you say when writing's really good. First of all, you don't have a lot of time to rehearse on films anyway. But when the writing's there and they can look at each other and say, like we had a lot of scenes together. When you can look at each other and go, you understand what's going on here?
Mhm.
Yeah, I understand what's going on here. Okay, let's do it. You know what I mean? And if you're good actors and you understand the script and he wrote a good enough thing, you go, okay, this is my little brother. You're an asshole.
I hate to use the excuse again, but I was 11 and I didn't read the script. I never read the script, and I think it turned out for the best because everything was like if I would have known what was going to happen, maybe it would have been different.
Don't read scripts anyway.
No, I didn't read no script. Give me the lines for today.
Sides. So we have about time for one more question, but before we get to that, just want to give you guys a chance to talk about any projects you have coming up, anything that you've done recently, and fans check out anything you work.
Well, Sean and I are coming out with Death House in January 26th.
Yeah.
Then I'm coming out with Sky Sharks next year as well. That Nazi zombies on flying sharks. That Sony picked up actually internationally. It's a fun movie.
Yeah.
And Waking Nightmare is another really fun thing I did with Diane Franklin. We had a blast. She can't stop talking about it, so I guess we had a lot of fun. What else? Oh, Terror Tales is also coming out next year. So I guess, coming out with a few things.
Sean, you're keeping yourself pretty busy these days, right?
Yeah, I got a play that I co-wrote and star in Los Angeles, a comedy. I've got I teach at James Franco School. I'm head of the comedy improv department, so I direct their sketch show and I direct their improv shows. And then we got a movie on Netflix, which is Axe Murders of Villisca, which is really fun, and coming out in Death House. And then working on my horror comedy, Crust, about a lonely guy in a laundromat who takes all the socks out of the dryer and blows his nose in and wipes the blood on him and jerks off into the socks, and it turns into a sock monster that kills for him.
Oh God!
And
Killer socks?
Killer sock monster.
That would be incredible.
And then it's kind of like Little Shop of Horror. It's a comedy, so it's a Little Shop of Horror meets what's the guy? Willard. You know, the guy who gets drunk with power. So I get drunk with power because my sock monster will kill fucking people.
He just improv'd all of that, guys.
No, Scout Taylor Compton
What do you
is
think is
attached.
that he didn't?
Scout Taylor Compton is attached, and but I coach and stuff. So if you know any actors, I coach on Skype, and so I keep myself busy. Plus I do looping, and I'm a landlord and a bunch of other stuff.
What?
Yeah, I'm a landlord in poor neighborhoods. Because I learned really well. That's the way to do it.
Gosh.
He got his own people in the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I cut out these people's tongue for the shit and the stuff they've said to me, they'd just be headless bodies.
Oh, no.
Hold on. Oh, are you done?
Are you done?
Next.
Next. And Kelly, you've actually conquered the designer handbag world recently.
What?
Right?
Well, you know what? I'm not even doing that now. I'm not. I love designing handbags, but it's, you know, I can't make the money that I want to make on them. So I've been designing homes, custom homes for the last 7 years. And I was about to do a show. I shot a pilot, but I don't think that's the way I'm going to go as far as the reality TV thing. What I am doing now is shooting a proof of concept for a possible TV show with Lisa Wilcox, who was in Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and 5, and Toy Newkirk. So we are developing that, and hopefully we will be shooting it by the first of the year.
Is that reality? Or?
No, this is going to be like a. We want it to be a TV show, but we are trying to work. We'll see once the proof of concept is done, where it can go, where it can land.
Nice.
Brandon, anything upcoming? Any place fans be checking you out?
I was 11. Nah, nothing at the moment, but you know, I'm still acting. Hopefully some stuff soon.
Definitely. All right, guys. Well, I think that's just about time. So let's give a round of applause for the cast.
Thanks for coming out, y'all.
Come see us. Come see us.